right? When in IT, you gotta hop around. You gotta hop
Yeah,
around, get that experience. The more experience you get, the more money. It moves up that way. You can't be scared when you come in here because there's so many talented people who have created a project. I'm actually
yeah.
looking for that.
Any cloud network management tool. So like I think Juniper has Mist, or Ragnar has Oversee.
Mm.
Cisco has Meraki. Any cloud network monitoring configuration system is wonderful for all those reasons. The configuration.
Hey guys, welcome again. We are on episode 5 for tech situations in the reality of a network engineer. I am so thankful to have Ramon on here with us. But before we start, I'm going to introduce myself just in case you are starting right here. So, a little bit about me. My name is Ebony Hall. I am a U.S. veteran from Columbus, Georgia. I currently live in Atlanta. I've been in the IT field for over 15 years, having been deployed 3 times before becoming an IT professional. After leaving the military, I went through a long 1 year boot camp where I got certifications such as CompTIA A Plus, Network Plus, Security Plus, CCNA, and CEH, and so many more that I'm not naming. I have worked in support, engineering, administration, and management. I've also been an IT instructor to the formerly incarcerated in the Second Chance program. In addition to managing and mentoring, I'm the proud owner of Incredible Minds, which is evidence of my dedication to excellence in the IT field. My mission is to encourage others to succeed in the dynamic field of information technology. So, again, I want to thank and welcome Ramon for being on here with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Ramon.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Like you said, my name is Ramon. I also live in Atlanta. I don't know. This is probably, I put it on my resume. It's my ninth year of IT experience. So let's go with that. I grew up in Alabama in a really small place. Ended up moving to like Murfreesboro, Tennessee in high school. Just went through the regular stuff, and I was kind of you know trying to figure out. I felt like I was good at stuff, but I didn't really know quite what I wanted to do. Ended up going to Job Corps in Mammoth Cave, Kentucky, and I ended up graduating about 6 months or so from their computer technician program. I got my A plus there, and when I came back, after a while, I came to Atlanta, got a job at a call center, and kind of started working from there. I have a CCNA, I have an A plus. Well, I had an A plus, it expired now. I had an A plus, I have a Network plus. Uh, Cisco verified. I also recently passed the Encore, so I have a Cisco Enterprise Specialist, and I should be sitting for my CCNP sometime soon. I say I've been a network engineer probably about 3 years now. Once I finally worked up the ranks, it's like a position that's handed down from generation to generation, really.
That's good to know, though, Ramon. That's good to know. You put in your hard work.
For sure, yeah. It's been good. It actually hasn't been that hard. You just do what they say. You just kind of like leave every 2 years, and it's really easy. As long as you're working on yourself. And
Mhm.
I ended up getting my Network Plus and CCNA at maybe my second or third job, just working and grinding and learning and stuff like that. But yeah, you leave like every 2 years from pay raises if they're not acting right, and you make sure you invest in yourself, and the money will come kind of easy.
Most definitely. See, a lot of people they're stuck in that old way of, hey, I'm gonna pick one job and I'm
Yeah,
gonna stay here for a certain amount of years, etc. Right? When in IT, you gotta hop around. You gotta hop
yeah.
around, get that experience. The more experience you get, the more money. It moves up that way. You can't be scared when you come in here because there's so many talented people.
I
And
think
you said
so.
you were Alabama too. What part?
Northeast Alabama. I'm actually from Hollywood, Alabama.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
I got
right. It's
family
near
in Alabama.
Scottsboro, Huntsville.
Okay.
Yeah. And kind of going on what you said, I think you're right. You know, you do. It's a different feel here. I think what really helped me was that even when I was in Job Corps, the the career field was proposed correctly to me because the instructor there was saying that you're basically going to be a mercenary. You know, you're basically going to, go to, whoever has the highest money. You're going to train your skills, and then you're going to go to the next person. So it was never ever proposed to me that, oh, you just pick a company and sit down there and they're going to give you money. It was from the jump. I thought that sounded amazing. Like, oh yeah, I just pick whatever contract I want and, work when I want pretty much and have multiple offers. That sounded amazing to me from the get go.
Absolutely. Speaking of you doing that, what's a typical day in the life of a network engineer?
It's really so anything that goes across the network is in your purveyance pretty much. So uh, AV, access control, just regular network data, basically, anything that if you're working for a company, for example, everything that connects into their switches and their routers, that's kind of going to be under your purview as to whether they're passing data correctly, as to whether they're having an efficient connection. If there's any internet outages, you'll be called to resolve that because it could be a problem in configuration. It could be a problem with the ISP, like it is most of the time. You're really doing a whole lot, and that's why if you tend to do network based interviews, pretty much everyone I've ever gone to will say, hey, just let you know, this is not really, it's a real fluid situation. You just, you're going to be doing something different every day. You might touch different vendors. Like, that versatility is necessary because so many things are network based. So
Mhm.
it really kind of depends. If you're going to be in a knock, you're going to be monitoring stuff. That might be most of your day is auditing and looking at reports and monitoring stuff like that. Or if you're doing something for, let's say a large enterprise company, you might be managing their WAN connections, their VPNs. You might be managing their servers, or also taking escalations for other issues that other people are seeing. So it's very, very versatile, but it all involves, basically what your company that you're working for, your client you're working for is doing specifically, and the type of technology you're going to work with. But it's all going to be, networked technologies pretty much, whether Cisco, Ubiquity, Linksys, Aruba, Juniper, what have you. That would probably kind of, comprise of all that.
Awesome. So, how do you know when you need to work on something? Is it through a ticketing system, or do your groups just have meetings and say, "Hey, this is what we're going to work on today"?
Again, it kind of depends on the level of responsibility that's been kind of bestowed upon you, right? So if you're kind of the network guy, as I've been before, it's on you to be proactive, right? Because the way that it tends to work is that people tend to not notice problems that have already started within a network until it's too big to be ignored. You know, you might see, people slowly lose connection, or the bandwidth begin to lower, or, you're getting spotty service from your ISP. You just keep ignoring it. Is eventually going to be, okay, the ISP is actually bad. They actually have a faulty line coming to you. It's actually, you're suffering outages and stuff like that, so a lot of times, it can be a help desk where people are escalating issues, and usually as a network engineer, you're going to be the tier 3 or right above the tier 3. So you're going to get those issues that couldn't be handled before, or it'll be, in some sort of automated monitoring system, that's sending you an email or something like that, or you're just your own proactive knowledge from working with the hardware, the software configuration, and just knowing what you've done and keeping good documentation. Those would be the three ways, or at least some of those ways that you would know kind of how to or when to jump at an issue.
Awesome. So that's good to know. Tell me about a recent project you tackled that really captured what it's like to be a network engineer? Like that one project that you will never forget.
I was Yale University. Basically, we were deploying RF units, radio frequency. These basically, generate the signals that you need for cellular data and cellular calls to, traverse or any other thing that you have running on kind of a cellular band or a certain frequency. A lot of times they'll put an RF generator into the basements, or if you have a park garage deep down in there, that way you have the frequency or the signal that you can connect to Verizon or what have you to make emergency calls. So we're putting various devices like that around, and what I'm doing is I'm routing the SNMP data that they give off, that details their processes and what's going on, computer, CPU usage, heat, and for them, the decibel readings, the dBm readings of what they're giving off, so that we can monitor it in our knock. So had that, and we were, as you might do a lot of times, we were working with pre-configured material. And lots of times, if you're working with pre-configured material, the people that lost the job that was working on that aren't going to give you any any information on how to get into it or how to fix it or anything like that. And one of the things we had to do, of course, was just make it so that these things were able to point their SNMP data to our Nagios web server. And so basically I configured, an open source solution. I picked the type of router. We used a Teltonica cellular router, used Linux to host Nagios web server, used WireGuard VPN that was kind of built into that to tunnel and kind of secure that cellular data that was running back to our WAN. And these are, like I said, all open source. You can't really patent any of it because it's either Teltonica the device, or it's just stuff like Linux, WireGuard, OpenVPN, which nobody can really patent. So through that, and through using Wireshark to induce IPv6 and IPv4 traffic from those RF devices, I was able to stimulate an ARP request, which let me know the gateway that they were going to. And from there, I was able to change our devices to match their gateway and then get into it, right? So it's almost like a little bit like hacking as well, like not really hacking, but I'm using Wireshark. I'm going deep into the data. I'm stimulating certain types of traffic. I'm trying to read IPv6 data to get to the IPv4 address to get into it. But working with an institution like Yale University and having something that's set up to where I'm not there anymore, and that's going to work as long as there's power going to those devices. That's going to be a secure, system that's working, to this day. Being able to do that and kind of make a mark like that, and make something to where I'm really big on doing things, the internet being just a great source of knowledge for people, a great delivery mechanism for it. And all, if you go back through the history, this, once you get your CCNA, they take you through the history of all the protocols and things like that. All these things, Wi-Fi, HDMI, USB, these are all open. Like, just groups of people came together to make a solution, and then they gave it to people to use. So being able to implement that and use technology in that way to make like a really solid, almost permanent mark is something that makes me really proud.
I love that. I was just about to ask you too, like, um, did you practice with Wireshark? Because when I started getting my certifications, I was using Packet Tracer and Wireshark. Those were my two go-tos to practice different labs on my own. But you said Wireshark, that's heavily used for me.
For sure.
And then I did of that in my last job, um, using Wireshark when I'm trying to like sharpen up my skills or whatnot.
Yeah.
But that's great. And then your tools that you were naming, um, that's what I was gonna ask you next. Like, what are your main go-to tools that you go to for fixing network
Man,
issues?
it's crazy because I didn't even really use it for real until like maybe 3 4 years ago. But fluke devices, uh, a fox and hound, that's invaluable when you working with multi-level buildings, big places, spread out places, and you got a wire somewhere, and you got to find where it terminates to on the switch, because maybe that switch has a different configuration, or what have you. The fox and hound, the toner probe. Um, I think it's called a OTDR. You use it to shine basically a really, really long flashlight through a fiber cable. Fiber runs go through the walls, over the roof, all kind of crazy places. So if you want to, again, figure out where it terminates at, you're going to need to be able to, you're not going to be able to just sort it out and trace it, because it's going through so many things and so long. And the fluke, like the big, kind of fluke cable testers are able to do, CDP, and able to, find out what switches are connected to the cable you connected into, what the MAC address is. Sometimes the IP address, sometimes the VLAN that they're on. Those would be my main ones. I feel like if you give me those, you give me like a fluke, like a cable tester, Fox and Hound, OTDR, and a laptop, I can kind of do whatever, because from the laptop I can get, Wireshark, like you said, and kind of, you'd be surprised how little you be using Wireshark if it's not some deep configuration, right? If it's not something where you're sent in to do something very specific. I typically wasn't using Wireshark, early on in my career. Also because you got to be there on site, and I was like, working a call center, but you got to be there on site to plug it in or have someone do it. But once you learn, that it's important to learn like the OSI layer and your protocols and port numbers. Because once you do that and you have Wireshark, you can do so much. You can do so much, like so much data just out there in the open. And it's just good guys like me and you that just not taking advantage of it, because people don't know.
One tool that I love, that I fell in love with, that my last job let me work with, was Meraki. You ever heard of Cisco Meraki?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Cisco Meraki make everything easy, because you can configure the router, the firewall, everything in one place. You can see
Easy
everything
deployment.
that's in your company network. I'm just like, man,
Yeah.
Cisco Meraki is that's it.
A
I'm
lot
pretty sure.
If places got the money, that sounds so bad, but really, if places got the money, they'll typically go Cisco. And
That's exactly what I was going to say. I don't know if the company got the money. I'm pretty sure Meraki have.
yeah, if a company got the money, they're gonna want Cisco hardware nowadays.
Yeah.
If they had the money, but they're like, ooh man, that, because Cisco done went to subscription fees for a lot
Mhm.
of their newer routers and like their SD-WAN and stuff like that. And if people are like, ooh, let's save some money, they might not to say it's even worse, but they might go Juniper, they might go with, FS, they might go, I work with Arachnus, but Meraki's so good because, like you said, the deployment of devices at once, you can deploy an entire site,
Yeah.
very easily within 30 minutes almost. Not only that, but you get the monitoring that goes with it. You can tell exactly when something went down, most of the time how. And I think you get remote access to the devices too from anywhere you are. So like it's really great to use. There's, like I said, you got the money, most of the time they're gonna go with Meraki.
Yeah. Meraki is it. I was like, and that's how I started really getting to like put the things that I learned into play. Just like figuring stuff on Meraki, looking at things, all that stuff. I think that was a genius idea, whoever created Meraki. I'm actually
Yeah,
looking to that.
any cloud network management tool. So like I think Juniper has Mist,
Mhm.
Arachnus has Oversee,
Mhm.
Cisco has Meraki. Any cloud network monitoring configuration system is wonderful for all those reasons. The configuration and being able to just look into all the details, because it's coming. And the best part is you don't got to go to site. You don't got to go on site. You can be in
Mhm.
your bed. I've fixed plenty of problems at work from my bed. Got a little VPN on my phone. Got a little command line on my phone. Easy.
Yeah. For
Big,
sure.
big problems, but money making problems. Fixed it from my bed right out of my sleep.
That's the beauty of being it, being in your place, man. Just you got that convenience, man.
It's
And
great.
uh,
You gotta have to know how. Just once you figure out how to make the VPNs, it's over with.
it's over with. That's right. Yeah. Another one that I like too is Solar Winds. Solar
Oh yeah,
Winds is at first, but then Meraki came and just
yeah. I
for
think
me.
people that I worked with Solar Winds maybe about 5, 6 years ago, and
Mhm.
it was a little slow. Like that's what I noticed about it. Like it had great inventory. Like you can divide your sites up, you can divide your devices up, individual devices. You can see the individual OS it was on if it needed to update. It had the remote, but it was a little clunky to me, you know.
Mhm.
And I remember like when I was still like getting my CCNA and Network Plus and stuff. A lot of places used to run Solar Winds, but Solar Winds would start flapping a lot. Like
Yeah,
it would just be
I agree.
like on a monthly basis, like, oh, Solar Winds down. Oh, Solar Winds down, you know, and places they don't play that. Like they say in networking, the 5 nines of availability, you gotta have 99.999% availability. That means that's like 16 minutes a year. So you go down for a little bit. They're not playing that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Solar Winds was choppy for us too. Um, I did like though, even though Meraki does this, when when we had a network go down somewhere, SolarWinds would tell you whether it's the backup battery or if it's the router,
Yeah.
because like you said, the OSI, you got to learn those layers because most of the time it's at physical layers. And a
Oh yeah,
lot of
you
people
gotta
they
start
start
there.
far off, right? They start way off, and SolarWinds like, no, it's just a backup battery.
Exactly.
That went
It
off.
would have, and that's not even exactly their fault. You know, that's why you know, I was when I was working with SNMP, you can
Mhm.
either have a push or a pull pretty much. You can have the device push the data out, or you can have the device pull the data out. And with SolarWinds, their thing was deploying agents, which was pulling the data out. So if your device wasn't exactly equipped to give the data that SolarWinds needed to alert, then it just wasn't going to do it. You know, it's too old. It doesn't have the protocol. It doesn't have the ports, you know, what have you. You know, that might end up happening.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, have you ever had a network outage or issue where it really stumped you? Like you was like, man, it's gonna take forever to fix. I don't know where to start.
Yeah, but I don't. The one that cut to mind was like, yeah, but like it wasn't my fault. For real, for real, for real, it wasn't my fault. It's one of them things where the network has gone down, and like you said, go to the OSI model, right? Physical connections. Is the router correctly hooked up to the switch and the firewall and everything? You know, the AP's got it. You know, the data, you know, making sure, okay, can I ping from here? Can I do this? We were having this really strange issue where we could connect, you know, if you're going to create a network, you're going to typically segment the network from your firewall to your router to your switches that are access switches that are, you know, the rest of the company uses. If you're not going to further separate them, you know, via department or VLAN, whatever. So they're going to be on different IP. The link from, you know, the WAN of your router to your firewall is going to be a different IP. So we were able to ping, you know, from the inside all the way up to the firewall. But it's one of those deals where you call the ISP and you get, you know, tier one. I ain't gonna lie. These days I be telling them like, look, man, just pass me up. Like, it's almost like an interview at this point. You just be like, look, man, I do this. Just go ahead and mess with me one more time, man. Like, but you know, it's a situation where we got conflicting, incorrect information from the ISP about what the issue is. They're telling you do this, turn it off, turn it back on. I did that 10 times over. You know, do this, do that, do this, do that. I done did that. Oh, well, we need a technician to come out. And they, they try to scare you. If the technician comes out and there ain't no problem, you gotta pay this. Okay, whatever, man. Come on. Like, so ended up being the ISP was trying to blame. They will. Most companies you talk to, where they're the ISP, if they're a vendor of some sort, they're an ISP, they're a vendor, they're gonna try their best to be like, it's not a software problem, and it's not our fault. It's your fault. You're dumb. And that's where you gotta know your troubleshooting skills to be able to be like, look at this, you see it? Like stick me in on Boondocks, read like like you see this, you see the IP config. you got to get them to see. And once that happened, they were like, oh, well, actually, we found out there's a street level problem with our switch outside of the building, and this is actually affecting everybody. We got a bunch of calls. Wow, really? It's almost like I said that 30 minutes ago, but all right, So, yeah, situations where you get conflicting information from sources that are supposed to be the subject matter experts on stuff, that'll mess up any operation.
Absolutely. So, guys, my listeners, Ramon is high level. Sometimes he don't realize he's talking high level. So for you guys that are like, what in the world is he talking about? He used the ISP word. ISP stands for Internet Service Provider. So that's AT&T, Comcast, whoever your internet service provider is. And then segment. Segment means basically when you break the network up into different compartments or different subnets, if I'm not being too high level with saying that. You break the network up into different compartments so that the network flow travels to wherever you need it to go.
And also, if someone was to breach your network, you then have some protection because they might have only breached the part that it's okay to breach, the DMZ, or a certain department. Now you have that. But when I get to talking to other network people, other IT people, I do be throwing all the translations and stuff out the window. I tell people all my interviews, I'm really good at I'm real down to earth. I'm real good at translating. But if I'm talking to another engineer, I'm gonna do
Yeah. Yeah, I know that's what you was doing, but I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna slow it down. What I'm gonna do, Ramon, you even changed the pace for how I'm gonna do things. And in the comments, I'm gonna drop acronym acronym index for everybody in the comments.
Nice,
so don't worry, we got
you. I like it.
I love talking to you, Ramon. I'm telling you, man.
Thank you.
I could talk all day with this networking stuff because the networking makes me excited.
It's so fun. It's so fun, man. And then wireless is part of networking too. What? This is amazing.
Yeah, for real. When I do study sessions with my people, I always break it down into layman terms. So how I tell them sometimes is, look at it as different streets. You want the mailman to take it to this street, you have that network. The next network will be another street. Just look at it like that when you're compartmentalizing those things. But how do you keep up with the latest buzz and changes in the networking world?
Honestly, you get on X.
What's X? Oh, you to my
Twitter is what they call Twitter now. you can really be on X and learn. It's definitely got its flaws, but you can stay up to date with pretty much anything you want to be. Even if it's some stuff that's not real.
Yo, so on X, I when I start talking tech jargon, sometimes I have people, they may start coming to I'm doing this project, I'm doing this, and then they start speaking jargon that I don't even understand. And I'm like, what? Talk to me in English, and then they go, oh, I'm doing this, this, and third. And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know this, but
man, people be on there showing off. You see, people on there arguing with bridge engineers about how bridges work, and they don't got a lick of experience on there. People be there showing off. People there undereducated, don't got no type of certifications, no type of nothing. Talking about, I'm like, imagine if someone was to try to tell me how the internet work. and like
Right.
they never configured a single router or switch in their life. Like, would you really sit there and entertain that?
Right. All you got to do is start throwing your acronyms. What's BGRP? What's TCP/IP?
Now they're
Yeah.
gonna start being like, "Oh, you must be one of them scientists. You one of them experts. I don't trust them no more."
Right. That's all I
No,
do. Start throwing out.
you went and learned your stuff out of book. I don't trust that.
Yeah, for real. Um, do you have any funny or surprising myths you heard about network engineers and what they do?
You know, I asked people that question. So I looked through some. I didn't want to have no pre-prepared questions like that, but I did want to ask, like, what do y'all think I do? Because I'll tell you, man, even if you work for a job, they probably not gonna know exactly what you do. Like, if you're a network engineer, it's like they pay people to know what you do, and those people talk to them, but they don't themselves know what you about to be doing.
Mhm.
So myths about what I do range from nothing, just sitting there, scroll on my phone. What else? Um, I had some people say they think I configured web servers. That's a little closer to the truth. I do configure web servers as part of what I'll be doing. Some people think I'm like a sysadmin, where like I'm like like fixing computers and like printers and like company devices and stuff. And it's like sometimes a network engineer does sysadmin stuff, but I try to stay away from those places. I don't really like being a sysadmin. But I can do it. You gotta you gotta have a tool belt. I don't know, man. I think most of the time people just err on the side of like, I don't really know what you do. I just know you do IT. And when people think like you do IT, I think a lot of people think like programmer these days.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think I like make websites. I think people think I make websites. Which is crazy because like when you in networking, your tool belt has to be so big. Like I have made websites, I have made web servers, I do that, but it's not like everything. It's not like the main thing that I do. It's just like, oh, you need that done. Well, I know how to install Linux. I know what ports are. I know how to network. Whatever. I know how to syntax from Cisco and Linux and all these things. Whatever. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, I had a guy. Um, he's super smart. Like he's like a jack of all trades, right?
Yeah.
And he said, I was doing my intake interview with him. He said, I want to let you know, Ebony, I know how to code. I have all these different, I have all this experience with these different languages, but I don't want to code. I want to network. So keep me in the network. He was like, that's where I have my most fun, Ebony. I don't want to code. And what I think too, what people think when they think about anybody in tech is you do everything. You code, you network, you
And that's
script.
only some people. The vast majority do like one thing.
And that's why I hate when some people they're not coding and they think that their tech job is lower than the people who code. And I'm like, that's not true because
Oh,
help desk is very important because they're your front facing, they're troubleshooting some of everything. Your network engineers, we got to have y'all or we're gonna be down. Your software engineers, they're gonna
exactly.
create out
And
everybody.
also listen to what old boy told you. Those people ain't happy doing that. It's not fun to just sit in front of a computer and type. And then if you've ever coded, like sometimes it be very ambiguous as to what you did wrong when the code don't work. So it's like even the programmers don't actually just want to be programmers. So no, like you should like anybody that's like, dang, this ain't programming, I feel bad. I invite you to like actually like just learn something, get into something simple like Python and like try that for like 3 days. And then when you're like, bro, this ain't that much fun. Like, why am I doing this? Now you understand.
Well, I think you have some people that really loves it because it's like a puzzle for them.
Yeah,
Constant because language you got to constantly learn. And so it's like a puzzle for them. But then you have some people they're like, okay, I learned it. What's next? And
Yeah.
those are the people like him. They're like, I already learned the languages. I just wanted to do it to see if I can learn it. And then they find that thing that they really like. So I
Yeah,
give
I
it
would
to
say
the
that one of my favorite things about networking is like the going back to how it's versatile and different is I like to problem solve. And you
yeah.
get like a different problem like every day with like everything and like it's fun. Like that. I'm kind of one of those people is just I can see why he wants to go to networking if he likes problem solving.
Yeah, he had a very long rap. I mean, and I was like, "You sure you don't want to do programming? You've been doing that for about 12 years." He's like, "I'm telling
Exactly.
you, I just wanted to be me in the network and just
Yeah,
do
I can
something."
see why. And then
Yeah,
also any cross skills, if you're do network and security or programming and security or programming and network or wireless and program, any cross skills, man, they paying at least 30,000, 20,000 a year more for that if you got two of them.
yeah, that's true. That's very true because
Yeah.
sometimes companies they may not need as much programming as so, but if you have those two things that pay you extra, so when it's time for you to do some programming, you're compensated for it. I do see that
Mhm.
also.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, for my people that's listening, and again, I'm going to create you a little guide because me and Ramon are talking high level. Um, but what would you say to the aspiring network engineers? Where should they start?
Inspiring. If you're trying to be a network engineer, it's crazy. Like so much stuff is moving towards cloud. Of course, I think it's good to get the basics, like an A plus or network plus. And if you don't want to do the network plus, you can. If what I wanted to do was I got the A plus, and I was studying network plus, and I was like, well, if I can pass network plus, I feel like I'm ready for the CCNA. A lot of people don't do network plus and just do CCNA. CCNA is that's when you about to start getting all the respect. Once you
Yeah,
get your C, that's when people started like to be real. The A plus, that's like the first little bit when you get into the door. Network plus, I don't think nobody cared about that. Not by itself, but when you put it together with stuff and you like A plus, network plus, security plus, now people looking A plus, network plus, CCNA. Now they looking that CCNA is like your doorway
yeah,
into real networking stuff. That's when people that I say so in the same way that the A plus will get you an interview for like any opening IT job, help desk, whatever. CCNA get you an interview for any junior network engineer or network operations manager or knock or something like that to start getting those network titles in your resume to start because you want to build it up. Like I said, being a network engineer that's passed down. Like it's really like every time is some dude has been at this company for 5 to 10 years and now he's leaving and it's time to pass all the information down, so they're going to want 7 years, 5 to 7 years of experience before they even start looking at you as a network engineer. And then you got to start competing against people that's been in the game 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, So you just know that you're gonna work up, you're gonna like rise through the ranks like you're an apprentice, but you're gonna be getting paid as long as if you get that CCNA, you're gonna be getting paid. But you're gonna be
absolutely.
absorbing the information, all the information as you rise up. Then you next thing you know, oh okay, I've been in about 5 years. Time to move up. But it's crazy because if you're at a company, if you've been working right, you hit your fifth to seventh year while you're working at company, and you get your CCNA or whatever, they're probably not going to recognize you and compensate you the way you should be. You probably gotta leave. That's what I had to do.
No.
I'm just saying, they probably not gonna. Some of them do. I was talking to a dude just yesterday. He said he's a security engineer. He said he been getting a 50% raise. He been there for 3 years. He got a 50% raise every year. He making 90,000 now. I'm like, you see how your face was? Because I'm like, he was talking about. I'm thinking about leaving, boy. Thinking about,
Right.
I'm like, do you know how rare that is? Do you know how rare? My last company was trying to give me a 3% raise like they gave everybody else. I pulled out some facts and figures showing exactly, hey, I increased your bandwidth by this much. We saved this much because you was paying this for this hardware and I found this. we switched to open, and now we saving it. Showed them some facts and figures, and got about a $10,000 raise. They trying to give me 3%. So in my experience, I don't know. Tell me, Ebony. Tell me. In my experience, they're not going to compensate you, even if they might even pay for your certification. They might even pay it, but they might do if you pass, we're gonna pay for the test or something like that. So like even then, they don't really want to give it to you.
So my experience is with everything for me is closed mouths don't get fed. Like if I feel like anytime I've moved from a company, I've discussed it with them before I move. So if I want more money, I'm gonna say, hey, can I get a raise?
Yeah.
Here is why. I'm not gonna come to you empty-handed and say, can I get a raise? I'm gonna have something behind it to say, hey, can I get a raise? I got my CCNA, and I think a lot of people are afraid to speak up. But if you're afraid to speak up and you don't never try, then you'll never get what you want. But
and they'll try to scare you into not speaking up.
Yeah, and if you speak up and they don't want to help you, then that's your move. You can take your certification, do your applications, and say present to a company who's looking for that person with the CCNA and say, hey, I'm that guy. Not only do I have my CCNA, but I have a background in help desk. I have a background in network admin. I'm ready for the network engineer space. So I always say just say what you want. You can't miss out on anything you never had.
You gotta believe in yourself, because before that interaction where they was gonna give me 20 minutes before the employee review, they're out there like, oh yeah, the company's only giving 3%. They're only gonna give like $1,000, something like that. They're telling me that. My manager, I believed in myself more than them. You gotta believe in yourself more than the company. You gotta feel like you're really worth that. You're like, I'm really worth, $30 an hour, and they're not giving it to me. Like that's how you gotta go about it. Because even when you go into an interview and they're asking you, oh, what were you looking for? They're gonna try to knock you off your pivot. They're gonna try to get you to, oh, what's the range? Or what's the expectations? You gotta come in there with your number already and not move off of that. And then a lot of times, I ain't learned this till about my third year. That first little offer they give out, that's fake. Go ahead, ask for more. Yeah, that first little offer, that's just the first offer. Just say, oh, can I get 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 more a year? I'll tell you what, 9 times out of 10, that's a yes.
Yes, and that's what I tell people. You have to, you are the CEO of your career. So you got to move like you're the CEO of your career.
Yep.
When you're talking to companies, if they have the budget, they're gonna let you know. If they don't have the budget, they don't. And so that's why I created this IT staffing agency so that I can bridge that gap. I'm not just going to the employers and finding out what they need skill wise and culture wise. I'm also going to the candidate to say, hey, what are you looking for salary wise? What are you looking for culture wise? What are you looking for? And then I bring the two together to say, this is what they're looking for. This is what they're looking for. Can we make a deal and then connect the two? Because I'm seeing a lot of people who are unhappy, but they're not speaking up when they need to. They're not saying what they want. They're not bearing themselves.
They're not just gonna give you the money. Yeah. They're not just gonna give it to you.
They're not just gonna, they're not gonna dangle it over your head and say, here you go.
Yeah.
No, you gotta
all the money they do that with, that's the small money. They got more.
Right. But yeah, Ramon, this has been so great. I enjoyed you, man.
Sure.
Listen, I could sit here and start back up some networking stuff, but I'm gonna hold it to here. And I look forward to speaking with you again. We may have to talk again, and maybe have a different podcast where we're doing a breakdown for the people who's new. Because there's a lot of aspiring people who's trying to figure out what they want to do networking in cloud and so many other things.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, in addition to CCNA, with so much stuff going to cloud and a cloud, Azure cloud, that's a good one to get. The AWS cloud stuff, the one that's above practitioner, those are good to get. Cloud and CCNA, that's where it looked like the industry going. And then if you got a little extra time, security.
Yep.
They'll throw an extra. You get a security plus, you get a CH. That's an extra 20,000, 30,000 plus right there.
You know, when I went through the boot camp and I was doing the certifications with my A plus, I made like 700. My network plus though, I was like 20 points from having the exact score that the highest score.
Yeah, that's
I
great.
got this. I got the CCNA. I failed that mug the first time, and then the second time I came and did good. But CCNA really humbled me, but it's for a good reason because once saw that CCNA, I saw a lot of opportunities open up for me.
The one that I've only failed one certification in my whole life, my whole thing testing. That was the first time I took the Encore test. That test really is a beast. You gotta learn Python, you gotta learn SD-WAN, you gotta learn Cisco products on top of routing. Like there's a like you'll notice like once you get to CCNA, people start treating you different. Once you pass the
Mhm.
Encore, people start treating you different. Once you get to CCNP, people start treating you different.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you again, Ramon.
For
Thank you
sure.
guys for
Thank
tuning
you.
in, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.